All right, everyone, welcome to the Talkin' Soccer live stream. First time whipping this out. I thought it'd be fun. I want to talk a little bit about US-Iran, talk a little bit about the other Group A, Group B matchups. England-Wales, when Wales beat England 5-1, are the first team to advance out of the tournament. That'd be fun, right? That's the chaos option is if US can't win, because obviously if US win against Iran, they're in, and the other result, and they're bounced, and Iran are in. The best result would be for Wales to win, make up that goal differential, and you have a Wales-Iran out of Group B. It's very unlikely England are going to run over them. But let's save that. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. For now, I was thinking today, first off, welcome in everyone. I am Justin Horniker. I am the host here at Talkin' Soccer. I am the guy. I was thinking that we could run through some of the US-Iran press conference that went just off the rails today. I put one of the videos on TikTok and it's something. The comment section is out of control. I no longer have control over it, and it's the internet's now. So enjoy, everyone. One of those things where we'll get into it here in a second when we pull up the video, but the Iranian reporter, which I have trouble calling him a reporter because he is someone who was sent by the Iranian regime to, I guess he's a reporter, but he's a state-sponsored reporter, which means that, he's going to do whatever keeps him in the job, which is obfuscate, which is purposefully incite, ask inflammatory questions to Tyler Adams, who does not deserve this, by the way. And that's something we'll bring up when we kind of get into this video, is that why is it always the black players who are asked these questions? I mean, I know the answer, but for once in our lives, can we ask this Walker Zimmerman or Tim Ream, who also had fantastic answers, but waiting a moment see if anyone steps inside. This will also be put up on the Talkin' Soccer YouTube page afterwards, so if you're watching, give me a little wave. Put the wave emoji down in the comments if you're watching this on demand. I would love to know that. But, all right, let's get into it. Let's not waste any more time. And the big thing about this to remember is that this is a press conference before a heated game. Anytime U.S. and Iran play each other, obviously tensions are always high. Tensions between U.S. and Iran, no matter what, are always going to be high. But especially in the current climate where there is a revolution, at least a social revolution going on in Iran, people in Qatar, women, men, children, are being very vocal, being very visual, and have been pointed out, are worried about their safety. I may pull this up in a little bit, but there's a good Twitter thread from reporters from the BBC on the ground who are talking about Iranian government having spotters to point out Iranian dissidents in Qatar, because Qatar is not necessarily friendly to them either. It's really brave. It's really courageous. And what this reporter does by asking this question of Tyler Adams is not only is it inflammatory, not only does Tyler Adams not deserve this, but Tyler Adams can handle it. It's also just purposefully moving the goalpost, purposefully changing the topic. So the topic now comes from the problems between U.S. and Iran instead of the revolution in Iran, instead of the women who are so brave, instead of the Iranian team who have also been brave, saying kind of what they could. After the game that Iran won, in the mixed zone afterwards, they talked about how they scored the goal for the people. They're playing these games for the people back in Iran. And I think that's as condemning could be without, overtly saying we support the People's Revolution. Because obviously that, when you have your family back home, you have your family back in Iran, that's not something you can do. And we as Americans, we as people in the West, we as people not in an oppressive society, not to say that America doesn't have its problems. And I think that's the gotcha moment that this journalist was going for. America isn't perfect. We know that. Nobody shits on America more than Americans, especially soccer fans that are typically left leaning. Like, it's a really good job. And, like, so, America's not perfect, but at least I can talk about this. At least I can go on a live stream, not worried about being taken down. At least I can go to a game and protest. I can go to a game and wave a rainbow flag. I have gone to a game with a rainbow flag. I can protest in the streets. Obviously, people worry about it, especially during the Black Lives Matter protests. People have been targeted, but that's a different issue. That's something that the reporter brings up, and we don't want to go there. Because, again, it takes away from the main issue, which is the Iranian people who are being so brave. So, all right, let's start it. I want to talk about the Tyler Adams press before, and then after that, we'll go into what Walker Zimmerman and Tim Ream said in terms of their support of the women in Iran, support of the Iranian players, and the kind of empathy that they have for the players. So I think that's important. Just a little subtext. This all starts because Sunday night, U.S. Soccer Twitter and Instagram put out a graphic. Just your kind of, if you were just looking at it, you wouldn't necessarily realize it's a groupie graphic. It shows the standing so far. But in the place of the Islamic Republic Iran flag, it's the Persian flag, which is the Iran flag as you know it, just without the Islamic Republic emblem on it. So just the three colors. Something that, first looking at it, I didn't necessarily realize, but obviously if you're Iranian, you're going to notice that right away. It was pretty much instantly taken down. The U.S. soccer representatives came out. They said that they wanted to put this out as a show of solidarity to women's rights in Iran, which is great, but that probably shouldn't be coming from U.S. soccer. I'm writing about this. I'll put this out in the morning. But given U.S. soccer's reputation, given the U.S.'s reputation, also in the Middle East, which is not great, we've done a lot of bad shit in the Middle East, to put it lightly. Also, U.S. soccer that has been indicted, or not indicted, but was implicitly brought up in the Sally Yates investigation. That will probably be further implicitly brought up in the joint NWSL PA investigation. U.S. soccer has not been great to our own women. So, different circumstances, obviously. We're talking equal pay. We're talking training conditions. We're talking knowing about a coach being a predator and not taking away his coaching license, letting him coach in the league. That's different than Iranian women being jailed, being beaten for not wearing a headscarf. Obviously, it's different levels of issues. But it just goes to show that, U.S. soccer hasn't always been an ally for women. So why are they making this post? And it's an empty post. It does absolutely nothing. All it does, I hate throwing around the word virtue signaling, but this is a virtue signal. It does absolutely nothing. If anything, it makes things harder on the players that are there. It makes things harder on the Iranian players. And people will talk about, it's a locker room material. It's bulletin board material. And, that probably isn't true. The Iranian players don't support the Iranian regime. Iranian players are conflicted as it is. You saw that in their first game where they didn't sing the national anthem. The emotions definitely got the best of them, I think. They're much better in that first game as they showed in the second game. And it's just an empty sentiment. We don't want to hear it from you. It's all good and well. And I think Tim Ream and Walker Zimmerman did a good job of kind of putting that in a good light. But let's talk about Tyler Adams first, responding to tense questioning from an Iranian reporter. Actually, hold on. Let me bring this up on the TikTok because this doesn't have the initial questioning. Because the initial questioning, I think, is important. So let's bring that up. Just me. What am I doing? All right, let's start that over without my hands. So not only is it just a wild line of questioning, but Tyler Adams does a great job of coming back around to the initial. Like, that's the thing with this questioning, is it's so aggressive. The Iranian reporter starts off by saying, first off, we're Iran, not Iran, which, for those of you who aren't primarily English speakers and you don't hear the proper pronunciation of Iran a lot, we go through this with Qatar as well, in that some people want to pronounce it Qatar, mainly the British pronunciation that I hear. The commercials that we hear here in the US for Qatar Airlines say it as Qatar. And then you get lambasted no matter which way you pronounce it. But Iranian people want us to pronounce it Iran. That's the way you pronounce it. So Tyler Adams made a mistake. That's fine. But the reporter is very aggressive about it. Not only that, turns it into, you talk about women's rights, but what about black lives in America? Like, what's Tyler going to say there? Like, Tyler is a black man who, born and raised in America, came up through the New York Red Bull system. Like, for those of you that aren't aware of Tyler Adams' background, what's he going to say? Like, yeah, America has a problem with race, obviously. America has a problem with racism, with putting black people down at every corner. And we've made a lot of strides in the past 5 years with just anti-racist work. And that line of questioning does so much to just disqualify all the work that advocates have done for anti-racism work, for DEI work that has happened since 2020. Now, not everyone has held on to their promises that they made in the wake of George Floyd, but it's a thing that has been in the zeitgeist of America for the past few years. And yeah, we're aware that we have not been great to black people. We've not been great to immigrants of all kinds, but especially black people that the country is built on. And my family wasn't over in America, but as a white man, I benefit a lot from that, from not having to experience that level of just inert racism in our society. So this Iranian reporter is trying to take the complicated history of race in America, and turn it around on Tyler Adams because they're offended that the U.S. Twitter talked about women's rights by using the Persian flag. It's a failed attempt at whataboutism, first of all. It's a failed gotcha moment as well, because Tyler Adams does such a good job of turning it around. Not only is he super composed, more composed than I would be in that situation, as you can tell. Not only is he more composed, but he turns it around, uses it as a learning moment in terms of, thank you for teaching me how to pronounce your country's name. Thank you for teaching me how to pronounce Iran. And now the reporter has nothing left to stand on. But it's just so reprehensible. And of course, I put that on TikTok. The comments go how you would expect. And there's so many comments about, oh, journalism used to be a profession. What is this journalist doing? And you're throwing around the word journalist like this isn't state-sponsored media. Like, this guy wasn't sent to Qatar to obfuscate. Like, this guy wasn't sent to Qatar to do exactly what he did, which is take away from the conversation at hand. Successfully, might I add. So, let's get into Tim Ream, Walker Zimmerman were then, of course, asked about the post. For added context, the U.S. players weren't aware of the social media posts before it was made public, before they were made aware of it, and had to answer it in this press conference. So let's hear from Tim Ream and Walker Zimmerman from my good friends at Area Sports. So he's going into, they asked him about the anthem. Love that for you, Tim. I'm sorry, it's bad to laugh, but just the way he's supporting the women's rights. It's whatever. So yeah, so they weren't aware of it until it came up. I don't know. I thought that was as good as you could possibly ask for them. Like they said, they're not aware of it. They're not geopolitics experts. Like their job is to go there, prepare for one, probably, definitely this group's most important game ever. A win and you're on to the knockout round. A loss and you're going home. High stakes, and now you have to answer these questions about geopolitics and about Iran-U.S. relations, which is always a fun conversation to have. Like, that's the thing, too. These conversations shouldn't be had in these settings. Like, this is not a conversation for soccer fans to be having on Twitter. This is not a conversation for fans and players to be having. It's, say what you will about politicians, but that should be left to them, and I don't know. It's just the last thing that these guys should have to be worrying about, and the fact that U.S. Soccer put them in position. I don't know. It's another case of U.S. Soccer just not protecting its players. Like, it's easy to say, oh, U.S. Soccer bad, but that is what it is. It's another case of U.S. Soccer not thinking about the players, looking out for themselves, trying to virtue signal without backing it up. Because, again, that's just what I keep going back to. That's just what gets me so fired up about this is U.S. Soccer doesn't support its own women. And then it's going to come out here making some grandiose statement about Iranian women's rights. Like, obviously we support it. That shouldn't be such a controversial thing, especially from our Western viewpoint. Just makes me want to shake my head. All right. Let's talk about the games. I pulled a FOTMob here so we could look over some projected lineups. So let's talk about US Iran. The first thing I want to talk about is what does the US do at striker? It's a completely changed subject. So while we're at it, give you kind of a break from that whiplash. If you're watching this video, please give me a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to pour more time and energy and effort into this, and I would very much appreciate if you stuck around and gave me some feedback down in the comments and just said hi. I appreciate it. Okay, so let's talk about this U.S. setup. Thinking about what they did against England, what they did in the first half against Wales, and what they did against the entire game against England. It was such a good setup, such a good game plan to start off with. I talked about in my videos this week about just my aggravation of Greg Berhalter's substitution strategy or lack thereof, I think. But for the most part, the MMA midfield has been fantastic. They kind of controlled the midfield against England, and I'd expect them to have such a big impact against Iran. Weah and Pulisic have both been great, adding depth, as well as sliding inside when Jedi Robinson or Serginho Dest come up on the flanks. I think that's going to be their strength in this game. Greg Berhalter has said that our fullbacks are our superpower, and while that's a little bit sad, but it's kind of true. Dest was very good at getting forward, lacked that final finish, lacked some things defensively, but that's just Serginho Dest. Anthony Robinson probably had the best game out of anyone against England. Tyler Adams, Matt Turner, of course, but outside of those two, I think Robinson's impact of the game as far as us getting forward was unparalleled. Tim Ream, Zimmerman, I feel like that's not going to change. The only thing that I think changes of this lineup is what do we do at striker? Obviously, Haji Wright starting last game, I don't think he was that effective. Josh Sargent starting the first game, and outside of that header that went off the post, wasn't very effective as well. I don't like using Jesus Ferreira as a false nine, but I think maybe with Iran having the setup that they have, having a false nine might be okay. And if anything, Jesus Ferreira gives you another option for taking free kicks, which, as we know, Pulisic has been terrible on, especially corners. I wrote in my piece detailing how the U.S. neutralized England. If you follow me on Medium, I'll post that down in the description after I edit this live piece, this live stream. But Pulisic had 7 corners, and only one of them was even somewhat dangerous. That's the one where Zimmerman's making a run at the far post, Harry Maguire steps in front of it to head it away. Everything else was either headed to safety, cleared out, gathered by England, or a foul was committed in the process. 7 corners. We had 7 corners and had 0 expected goals out of it, and 3 free kicks as well. So that has to change. If U.S. is going to be dominant, if U.S. is going to win, they have to get better at corners. They have to get better at set pieces. If you look at, how England were successful against Iran, it was through set pieces. It was through that Jude Bellingham late run diving header that he had that really broke the game open. And obviously after that, they attacked him with speed on the counter, which America can definitely do as well. But I definitely worry about the emotion of this game, especially after that press conference. Iran coming out and scoring first, and then from there you're playing catch up, and you have to open the game up. Iran compact, they compress, they sit back, and you're just not able to break them down. And maybe you get a goal, but you don't get a second goal. And that's what I'm worried about, because this team doesn't score goals. They've scored 1 goal through 2 games. The good thing is they've only allowed 1 goal through 2 games as well, but doesn't instill a lot of confidence for getting a win and moving on. Maybe they end this with 3 points. There was I think Waki asked on Twitter like a long time ago before when the group stage was announced of if we could move on with 3 draws. And while it's looking like we'll get 3 draws, unfortunately that means that they wouldn't be able to move on. So I like that setup. I think I maybe tried Josh Sargent again. I think he was somewhat effective in that first game, and I don't think that Haji Wright has necessarily earned another start. I know we like Haji Wright. Haji Wright has been great in Turkey, and maybe you go back to him if we make it out, but I don't know if I necessarily go to him right away here. Maybe we try Jesus Ferreira, maybe Haji Wright comes off the bench, maybe Sargent comes off the bench. I don't know what to do with that striker situation, and I feel good saying that Greg Berhalter doesn't know what to do with that striker situation either. Looking from the Iran side, I'm definitely worried about Taremi. Osman was great as well. Osman was the one that had that quote after he scored the goals against Wales, essentially saying that those goals were dedicated to the people, saying everything he could outside of, openly supporting the protest, right? I think that's important to note. That what I liked in that, not to go back to the press conference again, but it just keeps sitting in my head. What I go back to is Walker Zimmerman saying that we have empathy for the Iranian people, we have empathy for Iranian women, and we have empathy for the Iranian team. And I think that's important because for all the talk of bulletin board material, I think the bottom line is both teams probably have a lot of the same viewpoints on a lot of things. Soccer players in general are very liberal in terms of like their role in society. Christian Pulisic aside. allegedly, Christian Pulisic aside, I would love to see Gio Reyna come in. That was another piece of the press conferences. Greg Berhalter essentially tried to put to bed the rumors that the rumors started by Eric Winalda. Let's get that out there. That there's a big blow up between Reyna and Berhalter. That Berhalter asked Reyna to lie about his fitness. Berhalter essentially said, "I know my side of the story. He might say something, but that's not my side." And reporters on the ground have also said they hadn't heard of any dust up and that they definitely would have. This mainly comes from Eric Winalda. Jimmy Conrad also had a mention about it, but he just said that he also had heard, which for all we know was from Eric Winalda because they are on a podcast together. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm very nervous about this game. I don't have a lot of faith in us winning a must-win game. Obviously, I felt that way before the Gold Cup and before the Nations League, but I still feel that way now, and given how they looked the past few games, I think that's reasonable, right? So, final predictions. I predicted in my Dimers piece that U.S. would win. I'm going to say they win 1-0. I think that's it. I don't think there's a lot of goals in this. I think this is a very tight, congested game. This is where you need Weston McKennie to step up like he does at Juventus. Again, he's more effective with his head than he is his feet. I think everyone knows that, given what he missed in the box last game. But he scores a lot of goals with that late arriving run, just being a target in the box and getting off the balls. And I think that's something that we definitely need to take more of an advantage of. I would love to see a different free kick taker. I talked at length in my article about just how ineffective Christian Pulisic has been. And I don't know why he keeps taking them. And he's been taking them. And the U.S. have been ineffective at free kicks for a long time. But the fact that we had 0 expected goals against England throughout all the opportunities that we have is just so damning. All right. Let's talk about England and Wales. Let's talk about things that are a little bit less geopolitically fired. Like Wales and England, of course. Yeah, Kiefer Moore, Dan James, Gareth Bale up top. It's interesting because I think that this is probably a stronger lineup with Ward back in than what Iran saw. They definitely missed Ward back there as a goalkeeper. What am I talking about? Wayne Hennessy. They definitely missed Wayne Hennessy back there, goalkeeper, coming off his red card ban. It's been a long day, folks. It's been a long day. Anyway, Hennessy is just such a better keeper than Ward is. No, Hennessy got sent off. Hennessy's missing this game. Scratch that. So Wales come in with Ward, who kind of got lit up after Hennessy went out last game against Iran. And that's the thing, too, that Iran, that game was very close until Hennessy got his red card, was sent off. Wales went down to 10 men. They put Ward in, and Ward made a couple of just gaffes. So that's another reason why I think England just pumped them full with balls. I think England win this game by a lot. I think both England's speed, England's midfield, especially if they play Phil Foden, I don't know. Gareth Southgate, that's another... It just leaves me speechless. England need to move on from Gareth Southgate, regardless of how this tournament goes. Not playing Phil Foden in a 0-0 draw is just unforgivable. That being said, Jude Bellingham was fantastic against the U.S. I expect him to be fantastic again here. Luke Shaw was very good against the U.S. as well. Does Nathan Walker come back? Who's to say? I think he is probably still doubtful. I don't think this lineup is that accurate. Yeah, I think England win. They end up winning the group. I think U.S. go through. But just that little reminder that U.S. have to win. Anything else and Iran goes through. Unless Wales beat England big, then they go through, which would be absolutely hilarious. Okay, let's talk Ecuador, Senegal. I said in this game that this would be a kind of a high-scoring game. I think Senegal end up going through, but it feels weird counting out Ecuador. Especially, I think we get thrown off by them being, a lower FIFA rank, or higher FIFA rank, I should say. And they're a young team, and especially when Enner Valencia has been playing the way he has been playing, Let me check here. Okay, I think he's been cleared. I don't think he's necessarily doubtful. But if Enner Valencia does play, he's 3 goals in 2 games. He's just been fantastic for Ecuador. I could see that being a very close game. Senegal had goals from Diadou, from Diatta as well. Mendy was fantastic in goal. Koulibaly's been having a very good tournament. Senegal is just such a good team. They're so talented. They're so underrated. I have a hard time thinking that they won't win this game, that they won't advance. But just being in the position they are now, knowing that they need points, Ecuador can play a little bit more conservative. Hope to get that goal from Enner Valencia. Hope to get that goal from their striker, which I think plays into their game plan pretty well. Senegal have a little bit more experience than Ecuador do at this stage of closing out a group stage, of closing out a big game, especially given how they performed in the AFCON Championships, I should say. I think if I'm making a final prediction, I think Senegal win this game, knowing that a draw sends Ecuador through most likely as well, because Netherlands are absolutely going to beat the lights off of Qatar, given their scoring troubles, given how much they've outplayed teams throughout these games and haven't necessarily looked strong for it. Look for a big game from Cody Gakpo. Look for hopefully a big game from Memphis Depay for them. I think getting Memphis involved heading into the group stage will be important for them. Obviously, this is something to look at if you're a U.S. fan, because this is most likely who we end up playing in the next round. So a little bit of advanced scouting on Netherlands. Big Louis van Gaal fan. Cody Gakpo has just been fantastic, and I think they've been a little bit shaky at times, but getting out of the group stage in the knockouts are when these big teams end up shining. And as we've seen throughout the tournament, big teams have had hiccups, but for the most part, that quality has played out over time. And I think that is something important to remember. So that's kind of my analysis of Group A. That's my analysis of Group B. I hope you've got something from that. Let me know kind of what you think of these games down in the comments below. I know it's kind of a short live stream. I want to do these a little bit more going forward, just kind of a free-flowing video type of thing, especially as I've been gaining some subscribers lately. So anyway, thank you all so much for watching. Again, give me a thumbs up. Let me know down in the comments. Like I said, give me a little wave that you're watching. That's lame AF, but I have no idea how to end a live stream. Again, I'm Justin Horniker. You can follow me on Twitter at HornikerJustin. Follow the TikTok at Talkin' Soccer. I'm hoping to get over 10K sometime soon. It's looking pretty likely. So come check us out over there. The Hellscape, that is Twitter, of course. And make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube page. As always, folks, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much